Welcome to the Grit Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Philip Lanos. And today we have for you as our guest, Daniil Kirikov. He's the founder of Orbita.vc and originally also KRK Group. He grew his business beyond 200 employees, but he started off as a high school student who was looking for work and fixing computers before he even knew how to fix them, meaning he would find the work and then figure out what he needs to do about the work. And that's the running theme of this conversation, is the ability to sell something first and then go off and actually prove that it works and building it out into something that's an actual business. And it's one of those things that you will realize as you listen to this conversation is probably the most effective way for you to move forward as a startup founder. If you as a startup founder have been worried about whether or not you're working on the right things, listening to this conversation here with Daniil is going to give you that perspective you've been looking for, that reminder you've been looking for. Don't wait. You don't need that logo. You don't need the other thing you're thinking of. You don't even need a whole rebrand to begin with. What you need, first of all, is to go out there and try selling that. And it should sell if it's a problem that's being solved. That much is true. And Daniil's story will show you how true that really is. Aside from the fact that he went from doing IT to starting a company and getting over 200 employees, he also then stepped into the venture capital world and shares his own insights on the types of projects that he decides to fund and why he decides to fund them and what he's learned from those projects and how that informs his decisions about what projects to fund next. So this is truly one of those conversations you don't want to miss. Daniil, it is a pleasure for real to be able to speak with you. If I'm not mistaken, you're all the way in Luxembourg, right?
Yes, right now in Luxembourg, I'm sitting in a house of startups that made from the government of Luxembourg. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm all the way in Los Angeles. I've never left the country. It's a little bit embarrassing, I know, but I plan to do it soon. But for me, it's just always awesome knowing how much is happening everywhere else. Because people always, when they think startups, they're always focused on, just Silicon Valley. But there's a lot of cool stuff happening out there in the world. And so for me, one of the places I'd love to start is I wonder, are there any pivotal moments early on, maybe when you were in college, like at the Moscow State University, that sort of maybe influence your entrepreneurial journey? Or does this go even further back where you wanted to be part of the startup world?
Actually, I start my entrepreneurship experience like the way it was too early when I started. I started from the school, and the first project was in a school, and there was not because I decided to do it, but because it's quite difficult to find normal job in that way. I grew up in Moscow, and it was quite difficult to find a job in this age, as I had no experience, nothing, and just accept everything, every decision or solution I could take from the market to work with. And the first job was repairing the computers in pharmacies, and right after, and it was pretty fun because I right after the school I was going to different pharmacies around the city and just repairing a computer over there, and I started without knowing how to repair the computer. It's pretty fun, yeah. And yeah, and afterwards, the first project was when I was in high school, and it was pretty conservative, actually. We've done a monitoring of commercial vehicles. It was 2008, 2007, something like this, when there was special system that you put inside the car, and after you can track all the movements, everything that the car do, especially the constructions and I don't know, the taxis. Before there was no Uber or something like this, and the owners, they track with all of the special GPS trackers. So,
and this was in high school.
Yes, it was in high school, and actually I started to work in this company. In beginning, I worked in this company, and the owner, there was two owners, and one of the owner gave me a chance to show my manager skills, and he gave me a really small amount of money and said, you'll have no salary, nothing, but you take this money. If you do something, we'll share it. If you you have no success, you have no money. And I start with that experience. I develop a lot. I start from calling, I don't know, there was Yellow Page. I like first few weeks I just call 40-50 calls per day trying to make a cold sales, and it was like the first course was terrible, but time to time I improved myself. Yeah, and after when I become 18 years old, I launched my own company, the first one, and it was the same for monitoring of commercial vehicles. I continued that experience, and after 1 year, I sold it to one of the biggest player on the market. Yeah, then during 12 years, I developed my own consulting businesses. Like it was mainly a group of different consulting businesses. We do everything from communication management till the asset management for venture portfolios. And we had offices all around the world, in USA, in Asia, in Russia, in Europe, in Luxembourg as well. And yeah, we have more than 200 employees working in-house. So it was quite big. And right before the COVID, I actually started to selling it. And like during the I think the last deal was somewhere in 2019, and in 2020 I finally moved to the Luxembourg, and I already sold the major part of the business. And after the COVID, started pushing hardly, and actually it was good decision to make it before. Yeah, and when I moved to the Luxembourg, we started actually our venture builder with my partner. I worked before like 7 years or so. I helped him develop his own company. He had one of the biggest network of table games in Europe. Different table games he produced, create, and sell. And we create the venture builder. So yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know. Actually, it was kind of. Always say yes. I think there was a film called Yes Man or something like this with
Yeah,
Jim
yeah.
Carrey, and
Love
it
it.
was really philosophy of myself, like it's better to start to do something, never say no, and do, but keep your words. And it's quite difficult, but in the early philosophy, it was like this.
First of all, I love how early you started doing sales. It's one of probably the most important skill anyone in the startup world is going to have to have. And the fact that you started it early and that you weren't turned off by how hard and embarrassing it might have been at first when it wasn't going well, because no one's first calls went well. I remember my first calls. They're not great. So I have a lot of respect for the fact that that was such a early part of your journey. And I'm very grateful that you also opened up sort of about the overall broad strokes of like where your journey really started. And I kind of wanted to go into sort of the journey between, because we talked about the IT stuff that you were doing, right, where you were helping people with computers, but you didn't really go specifically into like what happened when you went into the KRK. If the KRK is one of your first companies, is that correct?
That's actually the KRK was the group of the company, and there was different brands inside. So KRK, it's my family name is Kirikov, and KRK it's a short.
Ah,
Easy.
okay.
And in different time periods, it had different names. It was VV Cube, it was Kirikov Group, it was KRK. So like in different time periods, and we had different brands inside regarding each agencies that we have in each part of the world. And we were there. So it's quite. This one was big, pretty big. I mean, it's still boutique consulting, but like to have on that area having like 200 employees in some area was number one on the local market. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's insane. And see, and so that's like a huge shift, right? Because you went from doing, these things, making phone call sales, to you just suddenly exploded into entrepreneurship. That transition what would you say was the hardest thing about moving from, okay, I think I'm doing this and maybe I'll make some money, like you said, to, whoa, I'm full blown. Now I have 200 employees. What was that experience like when you
Actually, we have
realized?
even more than 200. Yeah, actually, it goes pretty straightforward. I mean, we start from the like in the beginning it was just marketing agency. On that age nobody understand what's mean the like digital marketing, all of that stuff. It was pretty easy to work on that market, and because I don't understand as well, and I just try to do something, and I start to build the relation with the clients. And after clients come to me and asking like, can you help with this too, because we already build the trust between each other, and they asking me, can you help with this too? And we start a different agency. Like it started from the same clients we had on the marketing agency, and we continue with different service. Like the second one, I don't remember. I think communication, working with the PR stuff and all of that way. So it's pretty connected between each other. And after they come to me and said, okay, look, we invest some money over there. Can you check like what we can do with it? As you have different technical expertise, and so can you check? I can't like I come there, I see the project, I understand what's needed to like how to rebuild this portfolio of the money that they invest, and just give them some advice. And they said, "Oh, I would like to pay and continue to work with it." That's how the investment consulting starting to work. So yeah, and there was okay, we started to build different system inside for managing the process. I'm a pretty geek
Processes.
yes, about everything, to make it fully automated of all the process, to keep everything, to have like all information collected inside the company, to have a knowledge base and all this stuff. And that age there was no system like Notion or something like this that you can use, and I hired the programmers who can help me develop. Right after that, like we start to give this program also for our clients, to show them how we've done. They said, "Oh, we'd like to implement it as well." And that's how, for example, IT outsourcing for us, it started to work as well. Like we start from something small that we sold to the clients, and right after we start receiving new clients. I think for the whole like for 12 years I never run any ads like for selling the services that we had.
Wow.
Only like the viral marketing, all that stuff that people just came from our existing clients, or somebody recommend us. And still right now, for a few years I sold the company and still receiving people who come to me and asking for some help. Yeah, so some of my employee, they go to work to different companies and they continue to come back to me, maybe work somehow, and so on.
So, number one, it sounds like you did a good job with your hiring too, because they sound pretty entrepreneurial, a lot just like you. So, there was probably a really strong cultural fit. And that's also an interesting thing that not all CEOs or people who found companies always get right. They don't always have the best relationships like you, where they're lucky enough to still have referrals from their former employees even after they leave. So, my question to you is, what would you say has been the best decision you've made so far in your entrepreneurial journey? Or looking back, what was probably something you would have done differently? Either way is okay.
Uh, I had enormous amount of bad decision. Yeah, and the mistakes that maybe I'd like to change afterwards is I passed lots of economic crisis, and lots of really bad stuff, and that way sometimes you make a bad decision. The best that I've done, you're fully right, is a team. I invest a lot, and in the beginning, like when the company is less than 50 people working over there, for me, each team member was like family members, and you like, well, how his family, what's his problem. I tried to help with everything, and we're not working from the morning till evening, and like Monday, Friday. We work always. We're all of us thinking how to build, what to do, like how to help the client, and so on and so forth. So the best decision I had, like from the whole experiences, was regarding the teams that I have, the partners, the teams, and something regarding the reputation that we develop. And I lost enormous amount of money just to keep the reputation. Time to time, you had the bad clients like who pushing you and so on and so forth. I always just give back all the money and said, okay,
Wow.
you're satisfied, bye, thank you. But like if I promise something and somehow even if our side is right, I try to keep everything clear for both sides and to keep the reputation. It was finally like in the moment it was money lost time to time when you spend money for this, but in long term it was the best investment I had for the reputation, and it continued to work now. Like there is lots of clients I worked before, and now they are like investors in our project now, and they don't even need any presentation from us now, just because they trust me. And the we when we was trying to find the investment for venture builder, when we was just trying to start it with my partner, we collect the investment in less than 1.5 week. And actually we choose from different investors who proposed us. We didn't even had a pitch deck for them or anything else. We was just discussing. They said, no matter what, we'll give you money. That's the reputation I talk about. So it's kind of network
Whoa.
reputation, and this is the best investment. And regarding the things that maybe I will change, I think that maybe I was time to time too pushy for the employee. I mean, I pushed too much and I wanted too much, and maybe I wanted too much from the people who couldn't achieve this, and maybe that was a bad things, and maybe I would like to change. I was too young to understand this, and I was like, we just need to move forward, and I don't look around like maybe it harms somebody and I push them too much, and that was something bad. Now I changed my mind a bit, and I'm still like pretty straight in everything regarding work, the project, and so on. But I bit changed my way of communicating with people.
First of all, man, just the story you've shared regarding your reputation and that investment, that's just the most powerful story in branding I've ever heard. Just because of, you're right, not every company is willing to just refund a client no matter what happened, just because they're like, we already did the work. But your commitment to that and how you stood behind that and how in the long term that paid off, that would make this whole conversation worth it right there. But we're not done yet, right? We're not done yet. So for me, I think honestly this almost answers where I wanted to go with it, because you might have something else here. But my next question for this whole series here would be, what is the most surprising thing that ever happened on your journey so far? Is there anything outside? Because to me, that would have been a big surprise had I just been going the motion and going, no, you know what? I think the right thing to do is return the money. You never know when something's going to happen. And then you raise all the capital just like that when you're starting a new venture. That in itself is a surprise. Is there another surprise that took place in your journey as a startup founder in the startup world that maybe takes more surprise than that? Because if there isn't, and I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't, that I have never heard of a story like that. So that in itself is amazing. But I gotta ask, because it sounds like you've got some interesting stories.
I had lots of stories like this, and I just know I don't know what's interesting for you. I had some local stories when, for example, I don't know, we work with a big bank, and we had a big meeting, and I had my team with me, and there was a team from the side of the bank, and we were discussing like a lot of stuff of how we can integrate to each other, how we can help them. So we was quite selling what we propose, and we were discussing offer. And before it was, we discussed the deal for a few months, I think, and it was pretty big one. And there was an owner of that bank, the main shareholder, and sitting on that meeting. And during the meeting, like we discussed and we proposed, we said that it's possible to do that way or that way or that way. And the owner, he like he started to speak, and that he would like to take advice from his wife regarding that situation. And his wife was not connected to the company. Actually, she doesn't work. It just was for fun, because he said something like she was trying to do something in that area and something like this. And I said that in this case, like during the meeting, I stand up and said, "Thank you very much." And I think that maybe your wife will complete like the further task, and I believe that she can. But I think that we'll not participate in this deal. And I said to my team that we are leaving from that meeting. And everybody was like keeping so calm, and they was super stressed, because this is a big guy, and it was for everybody. It was surprised that I like act like this. And in few hours, the owner of this bank, he made a private call to me and said, "You're the guy I would like to work with." And we keep the contract with them for more than 6 years. And in the end, it was one of the biggest clients we had, and we've done lots of cool stuff all together.
Well, how did that change your sort of approach to entrepreneurship, seeing that? Because if your whole team was expecting you to sort of make a certain decision, but you knew for whatever reason, the most important thing to do here is maybe walk away. Maybe they're playing a mental game with me or something, whatever the case is. Did that change the way you saw the way you should make
There is
decisions?
pretty easy insight from my side that if you believe on what you're doing, and you think that it is the truth, this means that you feel power on your side, and you should always respect this kind of the power and respect of the truth. And people are like, especially the people who trying to sell something, they think that to sell they need to lie. But for me, it's totally opposite, because I think the power always on side of the truth. If you have power to say the straight stuff to the people, they are not stupid. They understand this, and they will respect afterwards for you. Maybe like for them, it's a bit harmful that you say something that like they don't like in the moment, but after they had this kind of reflection, they will keep your side.
100%, man. Thank you for sharing that. Surprise. That's a great story, a powerful story, and a important lesson in sales, which, as we know, is how your journey started. So for me, that's really interesting to see it come full circle. Now, I think one interesting area we can get into, especially for the startup world, is can you sort of discuss some of your experiences, one or two, even just one is fine, with funding a project and how you approach scaling them? Because you went from actually creating these companies yourself to then now investing in them. So what does that look like on that other side now? Do you remember your experiences and use that as a judge of how you can look at a company, or do you leave that out the window because you treat everyone differently because that's how you approach your funding and investments?
Actually, I had three different experience, like investing in a project. Right now, we're in the third one, and the first one was I just starting to invest as a seed money, as a business angel to different startups, and I thought that it will be enough to have expertise on different like marketing, IT stuff to analyze and score the projects. And it was a bit true and no. Like in the end, I invest some money, and still I call this Excel money, because I invest, there is a capital growth, but I never return it back and had my on my own bank account. And but in the venture market, it was still successful, because I didn't lose. I received a capital growth, but I cannot touch now this money. So it was the first experience. The second one was I was trying to find some skilled guys, like for example, the technical founder who is crazy about his idea of what he's doing. Like he know what he's doing. He have great idea of the product. He have a great like understanding of how to do it. But he don't understand how to sell it afterwards at all. Like you don't have any commercial expertise. And I was trying to integrate my team that I have in consulting business, for example, with this founder, and I give him money, and I also invest as well the commercial expertise to diversify the investment and try to develop the project faster and like so on. Yeah, and this batch was way more successful. I had successful exits, and I had a good relation with the founders because they feel from my side not only the money, but also they feel like the help with real operational process they had. And now the third experience, we've built the venture studio, and what we're doing inside that we're trying as cheap and as fast as possible to test enormous amount of the ideas, and only after decide of what to do. Because one of the main problem of the market of the startups is that you feel that you're doing the right stuff and you don't want to listen the opinion of the market to you, or you the study that you've done about the market, you try to lie to yourself that this idea is needed to the market. So we always try to start from customer development, from like starting from the sales. Yeah, I mean, right straight, trying to sell something. And if people, if you can sell on really straight way and people ready to buy your product and somehow, in this case, you can optimize everything afterwards. I mean, the economy will grow by itself. You can build the full-scale marketing. You can build the adaptive sales funnel. You can do whatever you want to optimize all that stuff. But like, if it doesn't work like this, in this case, for our side, I don't say that it's worked for everyone, but for our side, it's easy to change our mind and take other idea that, like, the phrase called low-hanging fruit. So the main thing that we are trying to do is we're trying to find these low-hanging fruits. But to find this, you need enormous amount of like different experience. Oh no, sorry, not experience, like tests that you need to do before. And the length of this test is depending only on you. So you need to build a process of like machine that doing different tests. So that's what we're doing actually, this venture studio. And the number actually really different from the normal VC, because I worked before with lots of funds or family offices, and the numbers is just crazy compared to them. So
go ahead.
Yeah, so the main point is don't try to lie to yourself that like everybody needs what you're trying to do, and it's not bad stuff to say to yourself that maybe I need to change something, I need to make a pivot. Yeah, it's good. I mean, even if you acquire some investment, even somebody push you, it's better to say them, guys, I think that we're doing mistake, we'll try this is my plan, I'll change that way. Neither to continue to do something like that doesn't work.
Yeah, no, what you're talking about, validating the minimum viable product as soon as possible, I love that. And you often hear that, but when you tie it to sales, which has been a running theme throughout this conversation, when you can put it straight to the market, straight from the customer, are people even willing to pay for this right away? If not,
if you solve their problem, yes.
Yeah,
if you
right?
solve the problem, yeah. Like I think you talk a lot with the startups, and I've listened enormous amount of the pitch from them, and like there is, I don't know, 85% of them, they're overthinking the market. I mean, they overthink the current level of the market, and I don't know if you're trying to sell something to the clients who work only with Excel, and you try to sell him the AI-based, full adaptive, knowledge-based system that adapt personally for each employee and so that stuff. It's just like he don't understand the language you talk with him. And I mean, in the beginning, you need to sell him something that he can understand. And mainly startups, they overthink the current level of the market, and that's why it's super difficult to sell. But if you solve the real problem of the market, the people will find you no matter what. No matter which design of the website you have, and no matter which brand name naming and domain name you have, no matter like I had a fun story with one of my employee, and we was discussing some project with ecom. It was the client project regarding the retails, and we had discussion. There was the guy who was designer, and he said that we need to rebuild the website. You know that talk always, like new designer come and said we need to rebuild everything from the scratch. Yeah, and that was the talk like this. And he said we need to rebuild from the scratch this website and this page and all the stuff. And after this, it will work. I said no. I can give my bet that like we push the page with one button on it and one picture and one line of the text. And you would do whatever you want. If my page works better on the conversion rate compared to your page, when everything like shining, the colors, nice design, and so on and so forth, it means that I will take your salary. If your page, I'll double your salary. Yeah, of course the guy said no. I don't want to continue this experience, but afterwards we tried, and of course the page with a simple button with a simple offer works better. That's the point. So normally the digital guys, they overthink the level of like how deep in details you need to go. Yeah.
Oh man, just another golden nugget of wisdom right there. And honestly, to start to close things out, one of the first and most relevant questions is, what's next for you, Daniil? Like, where do you want to go? Do you plan to make an exit from the venture fund, or is the venture fund where you see the rest of your years as you continue to explore these interesting projects?
We already launched a third batch now. We're in the process of launching it, and we'll continue next 5 years. Different batch of the projects. So for us, one batch is nearly 100 ideas that enter, and like 3-4 projects that as starting to work as an independent company, and we continue to grow them. So it will be around 20 different projects I participate in. And maybe in a few years, we will connect the venture funds with the venture studio to support the project that we have, and also to invest in some external project as well. Now we're like stop any investment for external project. Just we believe so much in the way how we are doing, and the numbers is so good that we would like to focus on that. So yeah, next the 5 next years we'll launch different batch and we'll develop it, and the project will be worldwide. I mean, we're launching now in India, in Europe, in USA, in Latin America, and so.
This is amazing. You're going global with this. And honestly, based on what I've heard from our conversation so far, I'd be really excited to see what it is you get to accomplish with this, because it sounds like you have the right set of experiences and, most importantly, the right attitude. I will never forget the conversation you just shared with me regarding how often designers or startup founders themselves that you're investing in overthink how much is necessary to actually go to market. Like, the strategy doesn't need to be complicated. And I think that's one of the most valuable lessons. But with that said, as we begin to close things out, is there anything you would say to somebody who's considering, maybe they're in a job, whether it's a big corporate job, or they've been doing something for a while and they have this opportunity to maybe go into the startup world? With all your experiences that you've had so far, is there anything you would say to them to consider as they make that transition?
I think it's worth to try. At least it's better to think after you try, like how to close it, neither to think that you didn't try. I mean, just try. I think the entrepreneurs, they change the world, and no matter what they're doing. I mean, I'm always amazed about the things that people are doing, and by the way, just try. I mean. Especially if you are young, and even if you are not young, I mean, it's worth to try. You always have a chance to I don't know, to come back to your corporate work, and when you will come back to that corporate work, you will have twice more experience regarding like the vision of the market, and you will sell yourself twice better. I mean, there is a big difference between the working inside the company and develop something by yourself, because when you develop something by yourself, you see the whole like image of the market, and when you work inside the company, you see the things that is important to you right now that you are focusing in. So it's always cool to just to try. I mean, I think everybody in his life need to try at least to build something by himself. If it doesn't work, that's okay. I mean, you tried. You can talk with your kids afterwards and explain that you tried. It was the terrible experience, the one of the like terrible experience, but one of the best anyway. Yeah,
Oh man.
and also a few ideas, like a few insight from me, that don't afraid to share your ideas. The idea without execution worth nothing. It's just the idea, and the because I heard lots of time from the startups that I would like to sign the NDA because you will steal my ideas, guys. The time when you speak about these like fears, the same time 10 people around the world they launching the same stuff, really the same stuff, and the same time. So it's better to talk with everyone regarding your ideas. Don't be afraid if they will take it and try to solve it. Maybe you will hire them. Maybe they will buy you. It's like it will work like this. Just share with everyone and receive as much opinion as you can.
This is gold, and it's so true. I can't even argue that, man. So with that said, I want to roll out the red carpet for you. Where do you want the listeners to connect with you, social media wise, or do you want them to go to your website? What do
Yeah, you
you
can.
want them to know?
Yeah, it's easy to find me in the LinkedIn. I have the open profile, and also you can check the website orbit.vc, and yeah, it's work both sides.
Okay, right on. I can't thank you enough, Daniil, for opening up about your journey and sharing with us and really leaving some cool insights. There's been some really powerful themes regarding number one, don't overthink it and always test your hypothesis, because it's better to have real feedback, immediate feedback to make that decision than to sit in the hypothetical world of the maybes and I don't know. We need a logo. We need this. It sounds like before you even go and file for an LLC, before you even get a website domain, just go and try to sell this. And if it sells, then you have the proof that you need. And I think it's such a great reminder, especially because your journey was from one who started off fixing computers when you didn't know how to fix computers to moving straight up into an opportunity where if money is made, then we can share the profits. And I think I started to see where these connected dots start to hit, right? Because then you go in and start a company and you build up to over 200 employees. Some people never even see more than 3, never even see more than 15. But you had even more than that, right? We're talking in the hundreds, which is crazy because that means you scaled up. And then from there, you moved into venture capital and started learning the hard way about what it means to invest in somebody else and managing that. And somewhere along the way between all that, you came face to face with raising money and speaking to banks about it and how you had to affirm in yourself what it means to know when you're on the right side of history and to stand on the power of the truth of what it is you have to offer. And so I think that anyone who's listened to this conversation is going to find a lot of empowering insights and a lot of reaffirmation about why they started this and what they actually need to be a startup founder, as opposed to everything else, which are cool tricks and tips. But at the end of the day, it's the attitude that's going to change the game for you. And that attitude has to be test it, try it, then make a decision, and not the other way around. So thank you for stopping by.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.